What if the plainest strand of pearls in your jewelry box, the one you have worn to 100 weddings and funerals without a second thought, is worth more than the diamond ring sitting right beside it? 8 kinds of pearl jewelry that seniors keep in old velvet boxes have quietly sold for hundreds, some for thousands, and one changed hands for over $1 million, while its owner thought it was too vulgar to wear. Most people will never know they are holding one, so before you let anyone talk you into a bargain price for grandmother's old pearls, let us find out if a fortune is sitting on your dresser right now. Here is the truth almost no one tells you about pearls. The word real means almost nothing on its own. A pearl can be perfectly genuine and still be worth only $40 or $50 because being real is not the same as being rare. Nobody ever taught you the difference. Value in pearls does not live in the shine everyone can see. It lives in how the pearl was born, who set it, whether it carries a signature, and whether a lab can prove what it is. Get those right, and a plain-looking necklace can outprice almost everything you own. Now let me be honest the way an old jeweler would, because I have watched families guess wrong in both directions. Your pearls are almost certainly not Marie Antoinette's pendant, which sold at Sotheby's for $36 million, the most ever paid for a pearl at auction. But the gap between a $50 strand and a $50,000 strand hides in plain sight, in details you can start reading tonight. And one of the most valuable things in this entire video is a pearl so ordinary looking that people give it away in box lots. Stay with me because you may already own it. Number 8. The big domed pearl that everyone assumes is fake. You have seen it. A large, glowing half sphere set into a ring or a brooch, often ringed with tiny diamonds sitting flat against the finger. Most people look at the size and decide it cannot be real. Turn the piece over. This is a Mabe pearl, a blister pearl grown against the inside of the shell, and it is completely genuine. Because it is a half pearl, not a full round one, it stays affordable, which is exactly why it hides in plain sight. A finished Mabe piece in gold with diamonds commonly sells from a few $100s up to several thousand. Here is your test tonight. Look at the underside of the pearl. If the back is flat, where it was cut away from the shell, you are holding a real Mabe, not a bead of plastic. Too often a family calls the big pearl ring costume, drops it in a bag for the thrift store, and never learns it was solid gold with a real pearl on top. Number 7. This is the one where I have to slow you down because it is the mistake I see most. Someone rubs a pearl against their teeth, feels that faint grittiness, and decides they are rich. Here is the honest truth, and I respect you too much to dress it up. Real pearls, cheap or priceless, feel slightly gritty because they are built from thousands of layers of nacre. Fake pearls of glass or plastic feel smooth as a marble, so the tooth test separates real from fake and nothing more. It cannot tell you whether your pearls are worth $40 or $40,000. That answer lives elsewhere, in how the pearl grew, its size, its color, and the metal around it. There is still one free thing worth doing tonight. Roll the pearls slowly under a lamp. Real pearls are almost never flawless. A string that looks machine perfect and identical is usually plastic. Honest little imperfections are telling you it came from something alive. Number 6. The signature almost nobody thinks to look for. If your pearls came on a clasp that feels heavier and finer than the pearls seem to deserve, read every tiny word stamped into that metal. The great houses, Cartier, Tiffany & Company, Van Cleef & Arpels, Bulgari, all signed their work, and a signed clasp can multiply the value of the whole piece. Here is how far this goes. In 1917, Pierre Cartier wanted a mansion on Fifth Avenue in New York. He did not pay in cash. He traded a double strand of natural pearls valued at $1 million for the building, and that mansion is still Cartier's New York home today. So here is your test. Take a magnifying glass to the clasp. Look for a maker's name, a serial number, and a stamp that reads platinum or gold. A signed platinum clasp is a very different object from a plain clasp on a cotton string. The loss. People sell the pearls for a flat price and never notice the letters on the clasp that would have doubled the check. Number 5. And here the ground shifts because now we are looking at jewelry built to look old-fashioned on purpose, the Victorian and Edwardian brooch. A small spray of tiny seed pearls, maybe a few little diamonds, set in a dark, tired mounting that looks dated to a modern eye. It gets called an old lady's pin and dropped into a junk tray. Except that is not the whole story. Pearls set into jewelry before roughly 1920 are almost always natural pearls, the rare wild kind, because farmed pearls did not yet exist. That makes these old pins far more than sentimental. At Christie's, an antique natural pearl and diamond brooch from around 1890 sold for $97,000, well over its estimate. Your test tonight. Look at the diamonds beside the pearls. If they are old cut, slightly soft rather than laser sharp, and the back of the setting is closed rather than open, you may be holding something made before the age of farmed pearls. Somebody nearly let that brooch go for the price of lunch, and the experts almost missed it too. Plainness is not the same as worthlessness. Sometimes it is a disguise. But before we get to the top 4, there is something most people never stop to realize. The pearls that turn out to be worth real money almost never look expensive. They end up at the back of a drawer, in a box lot at an estate sale, precisely because their owners decided they were old-fashioned and moved on. The shine on the front keeps lying to people. What actually decides value is a small set of quiet signals that anyone can learn to read. That is why I put together a guide called The Pearl Appraiser's Playbook, where I walk through the marks, the clasps, and the small tells that separate a $50 strand from a $50,000 one. So you can read a piece before someone across the table reads it for you. It is linked below if you want it. Now back to the countdown. Number 4. Here it gets stranger than you expect because these are pearls that never came from an oyster at all. The conch pearl and the melo pearl. A conch pearl is pink or peach with a rippling shimmer across its surface like a flame frozen in place. A melo pearl glows orange, round and smooth as porcelain. Both come from sea snails, and here is the part that matters. No one farms them the way ordinary pearls are farmed. Every one is a natural accident among the rarest gems on the planet. Only about 1 shell in 10,000 yields a conch pearl worth setting, and fine ones sell for thousands per carat. A single melo pearl sold at Christie's for over $700,000. Here is your test tonight. If you have an old ring with a pearl that is pink with a flame-like pattern, or a large orange pearl that looks almost carved, do not assume it is glass. Take it to a jeweler. Too often it gets mistaken for cheap glass and dropped in a bin when it was the most valuable thing in the whole house. Number 3. This one is a treasure and a warning in the same breath. The big pearls. South Sea pearls in white and gold, Tahitian pearls in gray, silver, and peacock green, all far larger than an ordinary strand, some over 14 millimeters wide. Size like that is genuinely rare, and a strand of large, golden South Sea pearls can climb past $100,000. A natural gray pearl necklace once owned by a viscountess sold at Sotheby's for over $5 million. But here is the trap dealers watch for, and you should too. A real black Tahitian pearl is never a flat, dead, uniform black. It shimmers with green and silver overtones. If you see a strand of perfectly matched, jet black, cheap-looking pearls, those are almost always ordinary pearls that were dyed, and they are worth a fraction of the real thing. So here is your test. Look at the color in strong light. Real Tahitian and South Sea pearls glow with shifting overtones and are rarely perfectly identical. Uniform, lifeless black is the tell of a dye job. Real ones earn their price with size and living color. The imitations ride on the word black and hope you will not look closely. Number 2. And this is the one that quietly costs people the most because the value is completely invisible. It is not in how the pearls look, it is in how they were born. 2 strands of white pearls can look identical on the table, and one is worth $500 while the other is worth $500,000. The difference is that one grew naturally in the wild and the other was farmed. Before the 1920s, almost every pearl on Earth was natural, formed by pure chance in a wild oyster, and fewer than 1 oyster in 1,000 ever made one. That is why natural pearls can be worth 10 to 100 times a farmed pearl that looks exactly the same. Here is the proof. A pair of natural pearl earrings sat forgotten in a drawer for 35 years because their owner thought they were too vulgar to wear. When they finally reached auction at Woolley and Wallace in England, they sold for £1.6 million. Here is your test tonight. You cannot tell natural from farmed by eye, and neither can I. Only a laboratory X-ray can by looking inside the pearl. But an antique clasp and pearls that predate the 1920s are worth having tested. In 20 years, I have watched more money lost to an untested strand than to any fake. Families selling the pearls for pocket change and never learning they were holding a fortune. Number 1, and it is almost certainly a strand you already own, or your mother did, or one you can picture around your grandmother's neck in every old photograph. The classic single strand of round white pearls. Smooth, even, the pearls every bride has worn for 100 years. Your daughters may call it dated. You have half believed them. Here is the truth that turns this whole video around. That strand is the most common fine pearl jewelry on Earth, and that is exactly why most of them are worth only a few $100s. Fame is not value. The thing everyone recognizes is almost never the thing worth the most because the whole world already owns one. I will not inflate this for you. Most classic pearl strands are honestly worth about what a nice dinner costs. But, and this is the reframe I have been walking you toward for 8 pieces, the value was never in the shine on the front. It was always in the details you find by turning the strand over. Look at the clasp for the letter M inside an oyster shell, the mark of Mikimoto, the house that pioneered the cultured pearl, whose vintage strands still command strong prices. Check whether the clasp is real gold or platinum, and whether the pearls are knotted on silk. And if the strand predates the 1920s, have it tested, because that ordinary-looking necklace might just be natural, and natural changes everything. Every piece tonight came down to one habit. Do not trust the shine. Turn the jewelry over, read the clasp, and if it matters, let a lab read the pearl. So, before you clear out a box, before you let a buyer name a price, before you decide the old pearls are just old pearls, do one thing first. Turn them over and read what the clasp is trying to tell you. Everything worth a fortune tonight was plain, familiar, easy to walk right past, and every bit of it was decided in details most people never check. If this made you want to walk straight to your jewelry box and start turning strands over, do me one favor and like the video. It tells me to keep making these, and if you are not subscribed, that is where the next one lives, where we do exactly this for the old rings and the loose gold in the same drawer. Then tell me in the comments what is the oldest piece of jewelry in your house and who it came from. I read every one, and the story of who wore it is half the value. One last thing, and I mean it. Do not sell a single pearl before you check the clasp. Number 1 might be on your dresser right now. Go turn it over.